Hello, we are very happy to welcome you all to today's webinar, Increasing L's Participation in Biliteracy, Challenges and Solutions with Elizabeth Franks. As we begin, I'd like to make a few comments. Please make sure that your speakers are working properly. All of you attending will automatically be muted. Use the question and answer chat if you have any questions. If you would prefer, you can make your questions private and only the hosts will see those questions. If you have questions, we'll save them to the end of the webinar, and unless there's something that needs immediate clarification. If you need any help, there's the link here for that. And please note that today's webinar will be recorded. You can switch to the next slide. Okay, today's webinar is possible due to a collaboration between Rutgers Graduate School of Education and the New Jersey Department of Education's Divisions of Academics and Performance and Student Services. I am Mary Curran, and I am a faculty member at the Graduate School of Education in Language Education, and I direct our local global partnerships. And I'm very happy to introduce you to today's presenter, Dr. Elizabeth Franks, affectionately known to many of us as VJ. Dr. Franks has been involved in bilingual and ESL education for over 40 years. During that time, she served as a bilingual ESL teacher, supervisor, adjunct professor, and consultant. As a lifelong learner, she completed 2 masters and received her EDD from Rutgers Graduate School of Education in Educational Leadership. She's taught classes here at the Graduate School of Education as well. In addition, she's held various positions on the New Jersey TESOL and JBE Executive Board. Currently, she's the advocacy representative on the board. It's in that capacity that she became a strong proponent of the Seal of Biliteracy and served on the initial committee that developed the pilot program and worked together with colleagues to get this program through and into New Jersey legislation. Dr. Franks has always advocated tirelessly for the inclusion and advancement of current and former English learners in receiving this distinction. The goal with the work is to encourage our bilingual students to maintain and develop their first language at the same time as they are in the process of becoming proficient in English. Her next crusade is to advance the development of pathways to biliteracy. So I'm very, very pleased to welcome my dear colleague, Dr. Elizabeth Franks, to speak on an important issue, as we know that in some districts, we notice lower participation among Ls in the SEAL initiative. BJ, you can take it away.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you to the Rutgers Graduate School of Education in hosting this and being partners with the New Jersey Department of Education on this important initiative. I also want to thank, I know you have technical support there, so I want to thank Erica and Julianne for their help in hosting this. I am honored that you asked me to speak about this topic that is very dear to my heart. The Seal of Biliteracy for bilingual students values the assets that they come with. And that's a goal that I always keep in my mind as we promote this. I want to just begin with a brief history of the New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy. It did begin as a result of hearing about the initiative in California. We had initially contacted our legislature to see if they would support this. At that time, they were not so inclined. So leaders from the 2 professional language organizations, NJTSL and NJBE and FLENG, Foreign Language Educators of New Jersey, got together and decided to have a pilot program because we saw this as a win-win for both of our populations. The leaders from both organizations created a committee. We recruited a few districts to participate in order to set the criteria and test potential recipients. The original committee consisted of New Jersey Department of Ed representatives, Dr. Curran, as well as various supervisors of model programs in either world languages or bilingual ESL. And as was previously stated, the goal was this initiative would advantage both populations, English learners, and I've decided instead of saying English speakers, I'm going to refer to our other population as other language learners so that we level the playing field. In the case of English learners, the philosophy embraced the home language of these students, and the intention was to encourage bilingualism and biliteracy. The committee collected and disaggregated data and found that the majority of recipients were English speakers at that time. And as you can see, some of those stats from the early years, 65% were English speakers, while 33% were either heritage language students or former English learners. And only 2% were actually current English learners. When the committee set the criteria, we wanted to ensure participation of English learners, and so we set some criteria that specifically address them. So some of the challenges and concerns in the Seal of Biliteracy when it does come to our English learners, in just this past January in Ed Week, there was an article entitled "The Truth About Bilingualism, It's Only for Some Students." And the article highlighted the fact that the original advocates for the seal wanted to recognize both groups of students. However, recent research from Georgetown University found that wealthier schools with fewer L's were more likely to offer the seal. I'm not quite so sure because one of our issues is that English learners must climb a higher bar in English than other language learners do in their target language. Pragmatically, though, and we had many discussions about this initially, we know that English learners need to graduate and subsequently must demonstrate a proficiency in English that is higher than the threshold set for other languages. Also, in our discussion, we recognize that L's are more likely to be in an immersion setting in English, while our English speakers usually only study the other language for one period a day. So that may be cause for some of these issues about setting that higher bar for English learners, but it certainly is a challenge for our students to meet those cut scores. The other challenge and concern is the fact that some districts pay for the assessments while others ask the parents and students to pay, thereby foreclosing some of our low-income students from participating. In reality, the committee did not advocate that the law be a mandate, but rather a voluntary process. The Seal of Biliteracy law was created with flexibility in mind so that a district could decide whether it would pay for the assessment in the other language or require the student and family to pay. Unfortunately, this creates a dilemma for students who have to pay but may not have the means to do so, and the district does not encumber those fees. The third challenge is the availability in the languages that all of our students speak in New Jersey. Formal exams are often limited to the languages studied in the U.S. High School World Languages class. AP and the College Board offer tests in fewer than 10 languages. ACTFL has exams in 12 languages, and STAMP also offers assessments in 13 languages. This does not address the 150 other languages that are spoken by our New Jersey students. Our fourth concern, our last concern, is the lack of demographic data about the students who are attaining the seal, or following the students to see how they have used this distinction. As a member of one of my school improvement committees once stated, you inspect what you expect. So if we want our current and our former L's to achieve the Seal of Biliteracy, we need to know how many of them have participated and what benefits have they reaped from this award. In New Jersey, it's my understanding that this demographic information is now being collected, and this is truly an important step forward, because once we have this information, it will allow us to think about ways to encourage more participation if we see in actuality that that is happening. So these are the problems that were set out in the article that really address that happened here in New Jersey as well. And what are some of the solutions? How can we address some of these concerns? And in thinking about that, I was thinking about there could be solutions at several different levels. So our local education associations, our local districts, we could approach it from a legislative model. The New Jersey Department of Education can also play a role in that, our professional organizations, as well as our New Jersey colleges and universities. So we're going to take a moment to look through each of these levels and see how each level could approach this and encourage and recruit more English learners to participate in the Seal of Biliteracy. We can certainly begin at the local district level with the teachers who are closest to the students. High school bilingual and ESL teachers are in the best position to share the information with the students. As you see on the slide, they identify 10 advantages to being bilingual. Again, there's much more research available on the advantages of being bilingual. Our executive function is better. We have better memories, and there's even research about Alzheimer's in later years for those of us who are bilingual. So there are many advantages that we can share with our students. What I wanted to also say is not only the teachers, but the teachers advocate to their supervisors to ensure that ELs are included and recommend their students for participation. Supervisors also play a very important role. This year, Hunterdon and Central Regional School District decided to change their testing procedures for STAMP. In prior years, students in upper-level courses opted to take the test. Laura Arredondo, supervisor of bilingual and world languages, said that about 200 students took the test last year out of a total population of 3,000. Students had to pay for the test with the exception of students who qualified for free or reduced lunch. The supervisor and teachers felt that many students did not take the test because they lacked confidence or did not have the capacity to pay for the test. So this year, the district paid for the test for all juniors and seniors enrolled in upper-level language courses. The students were required to take the test in their world language or ESL block. In the past 2 years, only 5 English learners attempted the Seal of Biliteracy. As a result of the new practice, all of the level 3 and 4 Ls, about 30 students tested, and of that, 7 current and 2 former Ls qualified for the Seal of Biliteracy. This sounds like a successful strategy in recruiting more Ls to receive the Seal of Biliteracy. Another way that supervisors can encourage participation is by surveying the population and identifying students who are not current or former Ls, but who speak another language in their homes. These students may not be aware of the possibility of earning a Seal of Biliteracy. In this scenario, supervisors may need to advocate for assessments that are not offered by College Board, ACTFL, or STAMP. These assessments may be more costly. Therefore, it is important that supervisors have the support of other administrators, especially their superintendents. In New Brunswick, the superintendent's office advertises the Seal of Biliteracy Award through the community newsletter coming from the mayor's office, as well as district newsletters. This school year, the superintendent incorporated the Seal of Biliteracy as part of the high school graduation policy, which now reads, the State of New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy certificate will be awarded and an appropriate insignia affixed to the student's transcript to recognize proficiency in English and another language per state established criteria. Many districts and superintendents recognize the recipients of the Seal of Biliteracy at award ceremonies, Board of Education meetings, and during graduation. All of these events highlight the advantages of being biliterate and hopefully encourage more students to participate. Another way that local education associations and districts can assist and promote biliteracy is by thinking about how can they create pathways to biliteracy. I know many districts that have participated for several years look at the data, and it has truly changed their curriculum because they realize, first of all, what it is they need for students to demonstrate that they are biliterate, and therefore ended up changing their pathways in their world language and their ESL classes. Some districts and superintendents truly value biliteracy and have developed pathways through dual language programs. Englewood, Princeton, Perth Amboy, Jamesburg, and New Brunswick are just a few of the pioneers in this field, beginning with preschool programs and continuing into elementary and middle school years. They are definitely committed to building this pathway to biliteracy. Another suggestion for local districts is to invite former recipients of the Seal of Biliteracy to return to the district and to share their experiences. Unfortunately, we may need to build on students' success at additional levels so the Seal of Biliteracy can truly be the beginning of a journey and not the end. We'll talk more about those possibilities in a few minutes. As we build new possibilities, local districts can create public service announcements about the Seal of Biliteracy to be shared at PTO meetings and orientation sessions for incoming freshmen. In Washington Township, Supervisor Rosemarie Armstrong attends the middle school orientation meetings and encourages students to begin their language study at that level so that they are prepared when they arrive at the high school. With local TV stations and high school media classes, local districts can utilize their programming to educate the community about these opportunities. So from our local education associations, let's take a look at the Department of Education and how they can support and encourage the recruitment of English learners in the Seal of Biliteracy. The first step to increasing the participation in the Seal is to track the data of the participants and to publicly publish it. So the graph that you're looking at is from Canada on the bilingual Quebecers, but we would be able to create a graph like this to show how many of our students are English learners, how many are other language learners, how many are heritage speakers, so we can have a really clear picture of who are the students who are participating in this initiative. And as I stated before, we are happy to note that the NJDE is currently collecting these data, so we will be able to track who is achieving this award. We also need to find a way, though, to track these students after graduation and to see if and how the Seal of Biliteracy has impacted their lives. In 2016, it was reported that the children in New Jersey speak over 165 different languages. Remember, STAMP has 13 different language assessments, ACTFL has a dozen, while the College Board offers fewer than 10. Therefore, in order to be equitable, the NJDOE must take into consideration how to address the 150 other languages. Fortunately, the NJDOE does actually allow districts on a case-by-case basis to develop local assessments based on the models and levels of ACTFL. Once the assessment is developed, it is submitted to the NJDOE for approval. Some districts have reached out to local universities and professors who speak those low-incident language. The professors have assisted in creating and assessing in those language. Once approved, though, perhaps the Department of Education could become a warehouse for these assessments, or encourage and allow districts to share their resources for these low incidence languages. This, I think, is critical because not all of our English learners speak the languages that are studied in the high school. And so we truly do need this other pathway for these other languages, and these students have the opportunity to demonstrate their biliteracy. Another advantage that the NJDOE has is its voice and power to encourage the test developers to create assessments in more languages. These languages may be concentrated in only in certain districts, but having an established threshold of numbers of students who speak those languages could support the request to the test developers. The beauty of the Seal of Biliteracy is that it has quickly spread throughout the United States, with 36 states now offering a Seal of Biliteracy to their high school graduates. Many states have similar requirements. Therefore, it would be beneficial to collaborate with our counterparts. These Seal of Biliteracy states could urge the test developers to create more languages as well as share the resources that they have already developed. As you see in Washington State, they have developed resources in Vietnamese, Somali, Punjabi, Tagalog, Romanian, and Amharic. This initiative has been such a rare, wonderful grassroots movement throughout the United States. It would behoove us to work together to benefit all of our language learners. So we have discussed what local and state levels can do. What about colleges and universities? How can they increase the participation of English learners in the Seal of Biliteracy Award? One of the ways that would incentivize students and parents would be to grant actual college credit. This is already offered in other states. Granting college credits for attainment of the seal of biliteracy sends a strong message about the value of biliteracy. Some colleges grant credit through the AP exam, but that eliminates the students who qualify for the seal through other alternate exams, usually our current and former English learners. Other states do offer college credits for certain scores on the assessment. It is a policy or practice that is worth exploring, as it would definitely benefit many students and families. The world is a global community, whether a student is pursuing studies in the health field, legal or political disciplines, or business majors. Being bilingual and biliterate is a definite asset. So we would encourage our colleges and universities to actively recruit Seal of Biliteracy recipients across all majors. In particular, though, we really want to encourage our teacher education programs to attract these Seal of Biliteracy recipients to fill the certified bilingual teacher shortage. Most importantly, from our perspective, is the shortage of certified bilingual teachers. Teacher education programs should actively recruit these students. We know that if you graduate with your education major and a bilingual bicultural endorsement, chances are greatly increased that you will have a job offer upon graduation. We also know we have a lack of diversity in our teaching profession, so recruiting former and current Ls will also begin to address this issue. We have such a talented pool of students who receive this seal of biliteracy that I certainly encourage our colleges and teacher ed programs to actively seek out these students and encourage them to pursue a degree in education. Finally, our colleges and universities could also institute their own seal of biliteracy. At the high school level, the passing cut score is equivalent to intermediate mid-level on the ACTFL scale. Students could continue to improve their target language skills as well as English and graduate from college with an advanced level of biliteracy, certainly identifying them as potential employees with the highest degree of bilingualism. From colleges and universities, we can look to some professional organizations. NJTESOL NJBE, which is the professional organization for bilingual and ESL teachers in New Jersey, already offers a $2,000 scholarship for a current or former English learner who attains the seal of biliteracy. In addition, an award of $500 is offered to the parent or guardian of that child in order to really acknowledge the parent and family's role in promoting a high level of biliteracy. NJTESOL NJBE also acknowledges the critical support needed at the administrative level to craft policies and identify funds that can be used to level the playing field. All three of these past districts whose superintendents were recognized have supported the seal of biliteracy from its inception as a pilot program. NJTESOL NJBE could also consider adding a Pathway to Biliteracy award to recognize those districts that are actively creating pathways from early childhood through high school. Our next level that would help in solving some of these problems would be our New Jersey legislature. In Washington state, they are launching a campaign to request funds to cover the fees for low-income students automatically. That would definitely open the avenues for all students to demonstrate their fluency in their home language. In New Jersey, since participation in the seal of biliteracy is voluntary and districts have the option of paying for the assessment or requiring that the student and family pay, there is a variation of engagement across the state. Having designated funds for low-income students would begin to address the financial discrepancy that exists. Right now, there is actually a bill that passed through the Senate. You see the numbers there, A2437 in the Assembly and the Senate 1630, that develops and offers grants for schools and districts to develop dual language programs, those pathways to biliteracy that I previously mentioned. So the law states it establishes a grant program for school districts and charter schools to develop dual language immersion programs. So if you are so inclined, you may want to contact the chair of the Assembly Education Committee and ask that A2437 be voted out of committee so that we can really utilize those funds in developing those pathways to biliteracy. As was stated before, we certainly encourage colleges and universities to voluntarily grant college credit, but we could follow the example of other states and ask our legislator to pass a law that would mandate our state colleges and universities to grant college credit for Seal of Biliteracy recipients. This would immediately grant monetary value to this achievement. Once students graduate, they do not really see an impact of achieving the Seal of Biliteracy. That's why it is so important that the seal have meaning beyond high school graduation. It needs to be the beginning of the journey and not the end. The last suggestion is that there be collaboration across all of these levels to really provide a roadmap to visually show students how they can use the seal as a pathway to becoming a bilingual teacher. Again, across all the different levels, creating a video of former recipients to discuss the impact of receiving the Seal of Biliteracy. And lastly, to develop some snapshots in the higher education, business community representatives discussing the value of the Seal of Biliteracy. We need to let students know that this is an important skill to have and that will benefit them no matter what career they choose. It's something in our global community that will definitely advance them. And for our students who already arrive here, being fluent and literate in another language, it really only makes sense that we see that as an asset and encourage these students to participate in the Seal of Biliteracy. So at this point, I'm going to open it to questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Frank. You really gave us a clear explanation of the concerns that are out there and some specific suggestions about what we can do. We do have one question that came in, and right now I'd like to ask people to post questions via the chat or the question and answer icon if you have any questions. This question is, are there resources you would recommend that have been successful in helping teachers support the Seal of Biliteracy in the classroom?
And I would assume that it's in reference to English learners.
Well, perhaps we could talk about both.
So certainly, as I stated, there are some districts who have looked at the data that have been participating in the Seal of Biliteracy and looking at where were the needs, where did their students fall or lack. So not just looking at the students who passed, but looking at the data from the students who did not pass. And then revisiting their curriculum to say, well, if they weren't doing well in the speaking and listening part, in the interpretation, then that's where they changed and made adjustments to their curriculum to support the eventual achievement of the Seal of Biliteracy. So that's one thing that I know districts have done by using the data of the test and then kind of doing that back curriculum mapping and thinking what can they do in their classrooms to make sure they're building towards the achievement of the Seal of Biliteracy. And that can happen in an ESL class. It could also happen, in a world language class.
In our last webinar, we focused on, the importance of proficiency-based instruction and working very directly to increase proficiency, like that being the goal. And I think also teachers can have to be the advocate that you spoke about a lot in your talk to make sure that students are aware of the Seal of Biliteracy, that they're, focusing on it, perhaps bringing in students who've received it in the past to talk to current students. There might be some strategies that they could use like that are directly related to the Seal of Biliteracy.
I know in Perth Amboy, when students arrive, they have a bilingual specialist who assesses the students And one thing that he does when students, arrive into the school is he actually immediately starts talking about the seal of biliteracy when they graduate. And what he noted was by talking about that, he found that that is motivating the students to become proficient in English. And he even noted that because in order to achieve it, say the students have to do the portfolio assessment, they can achieve the seal of biliteracy if they do the portfolio in English as opposed to native language. And he has seen more students then attempt the portfolio in English so that they can achieve the seal of biliteracy. So that's another way that another district has approached this.
Mm-hmm. A lot of your suggestions, I was thinking about how, you said, I think it was in New Brunswick, the mayor's office is talking about this, and in boards of education and with PTOs. And I was thinking how great it would be to get actual students involved speaking at the Board of Ed or to the PTO. And so helping the students who are in the teachers' classrooms begin to be able to speak about the benefits or participating in the program themselves would be a way to get them motivated, to get them to advocate for assessments that they need to have, to give them leadership skills and advocacy skills as well. It seems like that could be another benefit.
Yeah, great idea.
There's another question here about where districts can get funds for the seal. And are Title II funds available, assessment funds, testing funds? That would be something to look into too.
Yeah, as I'm not sure. There are districts who do automatically fund this, and it just becomes part of the curriculum as with their assessment. I'm not sure that they're taking them out of title funds. I'm not positive. Maybe others who are doing it on a that ground level basis know whether they can use any of the title funds. But I know in many districts it's just something when they're building their curriculum, their world language curriculum, their ESL curriculum, they're including funding for the assessment.
Right.
But that's where the legislature comes in, I think, where we can start to advocate at that level to say, can there be funding, for that, as they're doing in Washington State.
Right. Well, I'm keeping my eyes open to see if there are other questions. While we wait to see if there are more, I just wanted to mention a few things. One is that we hope to be convening a meeting in this semester with teacher educators at universities to talk about several of the things that you brought up. One is about how to find a way to get college credit for the seal. The other is that idea of creating like a college level seal, if it's, somehow higher level seal for students who get their undergraduate degrees, and attracting people into the teaching profession as well for bilingual instruction. That would be great. So we have that planned. We also are hosting a special symposium at the New Jersey TESOL, New Jersey Bilingual Education Conference on May 31st. We will have sessions not only focused on information about how to get involved with the seal, how to implement it, but also looking at the benefits for the students in the outer community, in the world beyond the classroom. So talking to people at local businesses, hospitals, about the benefits of bilingualism.
I think that's all of those are so important, Mary, because I know initially when I was first involved in the pilot program, again, it almost seems like students, well, this is the end of the journey. I have the seal of biliteracy in my high school. And then students came back and said they didn't see any benefit to it in college.
Right.
And, that's disappointing to hear you've achieved this level of biliteracy in high school, but who's promoting it? And so I think seeing how it could impact their career, whatever their interests are, is something that's important, and that the colleges really then take it to that next level. So students see, like, you don't want to stop there, because 4 years later, you may not have that same level of biliteracy that you had at the end of high school. So it is something that to encourage students to continue to pursue. So those are wonderful, both business and colleges to have those conversations. And I know NJTCLBE is very interested in working and collaborating with teacher education programs, because we see on the ground level the dire need for certified bilingual teachers. Our students are not getting the services they need because we don't have the teachers. As I've said too, my crusade is dual language programs, but we can't have dual language programs if we don't have teachers.
Right.
So there is we want to develop that pathway, but we need certified bilingual teachers. So that is something that we really want to work with our teacher ed partners to see what we could do together to really encourage students to pursue that pathway.
Right. It would be great to start a pipeline program where, while we're promoting the SEAL, we're also promoting these career possibilities for students, and with being a bilingual teacher among them, because we do have a shortage and a need. I see a note from Maria Romero at the NJDOE asking to remind everyone that, or to tell everyone that they will be sending out a memo next week with information regarding portfolio students. So the opportunity to have an assessment that's a portfolio assessment. So that should be coming out soon. So that should be interesting to see.
Wonderful.
And I don't see any other questions. I do, before we leave, want to tell people that we will have a new webinar coming up with Dr. Patricia Gandara, focused on the value of biliteracy. So focusing on that real world advantage of being biliterate. So that's going to be in our next webinar. And Dr. Franks, I want to thank you very much. Today's presentation really was important, and you gave us a lot of good suggestions and new things we need to work towards and advocate for. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mary, for this opportunity.
Okay. Thank you again.